Well, hello, John Browning. How is your day going, sir?
It is going fantastic. We are getting a lot of stuff done today. A lot of people are asking lots of questions as we come up on starting to plan the second half of the year. So it's been good. I like being productive and getting
Yeah,
things done.
amen on that. Hey, that's a good thing. People asking questions. I've got some questions for you today. So I was thinking the other day, Memorial Day. We just came past Memorial Day, and as I was driving around town on Memorial Day, John, it occurred to me. Back in I don't know, 1982, my brother and I were on our motorcycles driving up to the lake where my grandma and grandpa lived, right? And that's where I got my first speeding ticket.
Oh,
And it's a bad memory, but the good memory was being at the lake with my grandpa. And grandpa was he was a retired state trooper, okay? And that didn't help me get out of that ticket, by the way.
no.
But he was a retired state trooper, and he was retired for a long time. And when I was talking to him or my dad about that one time or something, they were talking about a pension. And I was asking them what a pension was, and they said, well, it's without getting too complex, it's the paycheck for life. And I said, well, that's really cool. Well, he'd worked there for a long time, right? I don't know many people today who have pensions, John. So my question to you is there any way that I, being an entrepreneur and a business owner, or just anybody else, is there any way we can get a pension?
The only way to do it is to make one yourself.
Okay, I got a computer and a printer. Can I just is that what you mean?
It's a little bit more complex than that, but
all right. I'm all ears, man.
But you can make one, and people tend to forget that these people who ran the pensions and who still do run the old pensions. I don't know. I'm sure there are a few, like the teachers still have one. There's a few places out there that have them, and if you have one, just hang on to it. Make sure that you are paying attention and do everything they say to do in order to get it, because it is truly one of those gems of yesteryear that most people don't have anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, it's a paycheck, right, that arrives every month. I mean, like Social Security in a sense, right? Social Security check arrives every month. A pension adds to that every month, and it's kind of guaranteed for life or something like that, right?
Exactly. And it's very similar to Social Security, and except it's sponsored by the company, and they also have the issues that the government does, whether it's funded or not funded. But generally speaking, it's that steady paycheck that keeps coming. So if you don't have that, if you're my age or frankly your age, right, we don't have that. So we have to make our own. Yeah. And just for fun, since we just kind of got done with this, what we titled that, and it's a lot of what we do, is creating your personal paycheck protection program.
Yeah, I love it. Because really, when you think about it, we've worked for 40 years or 50 years before we get to retirement. And we've had a check every week or twice a month or whatever. It comes because we work. You retire, you stop working, the paycheck stops. And now you have this big nest egg of money, but what you're saying today is you can create your own personal paycheck protection program.
That's right. And getting started on that, by the way, getting started on that now also protects you from maybe a layoff or say a pandemic that means that you don't get a paycheck for a little while. It's that same paycheck protection program that we're thinking of more for retirement can protect you in unforeseen events like that.
Okay. So let's talk nuts and bolts and nitty gritties. And I mean, elaborate a little bit about how would somebody even start this? What's it look like besides calling John Browning and having him discuss it with you, right? But I mean, at a big level, what is this? How does a normal person like me create a personal paycheck protection program?
Well, I hear all the time all the reasons why you don't do it, right? What reasons are there? Well, it's too hard. I don't have the month ends before my money runs out before the end of the month. Is that it? Right? You hear that all the time. And so part of it is, number one, just like any type of planning, when you get out your roadmap, the most important thing is to know where you are. You got to know where you are before you can figure out where you're going to go. Second most important thing is, where do I need to go? And most people kind of have an idea where they are now, a general idea.
Right.
But what we're finding is that there's a statistic out there, and I've seen the study. They did a fairly extensive study all over the United States about Americans, and only 75%, or rather the opposite of that. So 75% of Americans do not have any type of financial plan. And you and I, because we do plan, and that's kind of what I do, find that fascinating, amazing, and sad.
75%
do not have any kind of financial plan.
Wow.
And 80% of them, in that same study, 80% of Americans actually don't think they're going to be able to survive. Even if they have a plan, they're afraid of not being able to survive. And why? You start thinking about that just for a minute. I want everybody on this podcast to think for a minute. My next 50 paychecks are not coming. What do I do? How do I survive? How do I buy groceries?
I mean, before or after I panic? What do you mean?
Right. It strikes panic. And a lot of times what people will do is if they start to get there, we try and avoid pain. So as soon as we start thinking about my paycheck's gone, and not only that, but I'm not getting another one, they start to panic, they see pain, they shut it down, and they don't plan, which is, of course, exacerbates the problem.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the start. That's where you start. You have to get into the mindset. Mindset's one of those things that's so important, but very few people pay it any mind.
There you go.
There you go. That's my pun for the day.
I like it. That's very punny. That's very punny. No, that's interesting because you don't really think about it, but yeah, you've got a paycheck every month. Let's say you got paid once a month. I don't know. Every month for 30 years or 40 years, you retire and it's done. They don't send you paychecks anymore.
No.
I could see how that would strike fear in somebody's head, at that point, but let's back it up and you're 35 or 45. How are you planning for that? I guess the question to ask if you're a listener, does your company have a pension plan? And if it doesn't, reach out to John because that's crazy.
You're gonna need to create your own, because Social Security is not going to do it for you. Say that you believe that Social Security is going to be there for you in some form or fashion. There are a number of things that are likely to happen, and we've seen them happen already. Social Security Administration keeps pushing out that age a little bit further, the time in which you can draw it.
Yeah.
And then eventually there's something that replaces it, and what would that look like? And even if you get it now, I can put you in touch with any number of people who are on Social Security now that will tell you you cannot live comfortable. You can't build your best life that you want on Social Security.
Yeah, case in point, and I don't know why we're having this conversation today, John, but over the weekend, I went to the SSA.gov, Social Security Administration.gov, and I got my report, and anybody can do this.
Right.
And I looked at the number that I should get from Social Security when I'm, I think, 65 or whatever, and they give you 2 or 3 numbers. But you can't live on it. I mean, it's nice supplemental, but it is not going to provide a lifestyle. So it's there, but I think too many people think, well, I'm just going to live on Social Security. No, you're not.
No, not well.
Not well. Yeah, not well. But that's part of the planning that we do, is just look at that number every year to go, okay, that's a portion of my retirement plan. Now, what's the other portion? Well, hopefully I've got a personal paycheck protection plan, right? And then I've got some savings, and then I've got some investments, and whatever. But it's that whole building my life and building a portfolio that supports the life, which is exactly what you wrote about in your Amazon best-selling book. But that's what you help people do, is think through all these things, because you're right, John, it's hard work. And it's not fun for most of us. I know you get giddy and you like this stuff, which, praise God, that's why people should just call you and say, John, what do I do? And you could create a plan for them based on their unique situation and go, here's an option. But before we talk about all that, let's talk about you and your family and your dreams and desires in your life. And what do you want? Because that's really what it's all about, right?
And why you want it. That's right. And really thinking through those things. And then you do get into the nitty gritty, right? And that's what I'm really there for, because most people, it's not what they think about most of the time. But that whole, where do you want to go? I mean, if somebody wants to take just sort of back of the envelope and wants to scare themselves, take what you're making now, take your paycheck, take a look at it, and you still have to pay taxes on your capital gains, but you don't have to pay like Medicare, Social Security, unemployment tax. You don't have to pay all this. So you can take those out. That's the good news. Bad news is you now have to pay all of your health care, and your health care is likely to have gone up. You're likely to, frankly, have more time on your hands, in which case, what are you going to do and how expensive is that going to be? Those are some of the things you need to think about when you think about what am I going to need per month or every 2 weeks or whatever. And then, wow, what do you do? How do you, so you have these savings. You've got, maybe you're making, 0.5% in your bank account, which is not even keeping up with the inflation cost by a long shot. So how do I get a paycheck on that? Is it bonds? Well, no, not really, not now, because fixed income is just not paying what it used to do. Is it dividend paying stocks? Well, I don't know. They pay, most of the time they pay quarterly. So not twice a month like your paycheck did. And, so how do I do this? And that's what I do. That's what we do here at Guardian Rock. And we actually wrote a white paper, by the way, that you can get if you go to our website, guardianrockwealth.com. And it's called 8 Common Misunderstandings About Retirement and How to Understand Them Better.
Okay.
Brand new. And it's just things that people don't think about because they're not doing what I do every day.
Right.
And then it gives a little snippet about how you might understand that better and plan for that better. And of course, you can always call us and we're happy to walk you through it.
All right. Your free report, 8 Common Misunderstandings About Retirement and How to Understand Them Better. That's free at guardianrockwealth.com. Is that on the front page or do they have to go somewhere to get it?
Actually, they need to go to the contact us section and just write in there what you're looking for. You're looking for your, our retirement white paper, and we're happy to send that out to you free of charge. Doesn't cost anything.
For this, I'm going to call it a report.
Mm-hmm.
And as for this, I'm putting that in the show notes, by the way. So if you missed all, it's in the show notes. But guardianrockwealth.com, the contact us section, and ask John for that 8 Common Misunderstandings About Retirement report. That's very cool, John. And I bet if they asked, you'd give them a copy of your Amazon bestselling book too.
Absolutely. I would love to do that.
That's a fun read too. But there's so much here. And I love the idea of the topic of personal paycheck protection plan. How do you create your own paycheck throughout your retirement when the company's done paying you because you've retired? You're not on their payroll anymore. You're on your own. And John and Guardian Rock Wealth can help you figure that out and take into consideration the things you talked about, John, the healthcare costs and different things, because everybody thinks that in retirement, my expenses go down. That's not always the case. Right. And so John can help you just think through some of those things and plan, because that's a really big deal, is just planning and making sure that when that day arrives or those specific days arrive, how are you going to handle those? So that you are not a burden to your family, so that you've got the money that you need to stay alive and healthy and enjoy life and build a life, not just a portfolio. That'd be a great title of a book.
Wouldn't it though?
So that's the title of John's Amazon bestselling book, Build a Life, Not a Portfolio. And when you reach out to John at Guardian Rock Wealth, you can get a copy of his new report, 8 Common Misunderstandings About Retirement and How to Understand Them Better. You can get a copy of his book, and you can just have a conversation with him. And I think, John, that's probably the best thing to do, is just have a conversation through Zoom or a phone call or in person, and just talk about your situation and where you are. Don't wait until you get the gold watch to say, I need to start planning for retirement. That's a little late.
A little bit late.
Yeah, it's a little late. You can still do it, but it's a little late. Right. But reach out to John and ask him about how to create your personal paycheck protection plan. That's really cool. It's hard to say, but it's really cool. All right. We will leave it there and encourage people to reach out to you, John, at guardianrockwealth.com. And we will look forward to talking with you next time.
Sounds good. We'll see you next time.